Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ruymand Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ruymand Show. Hey, this is Editing Ruymand here. Look, there's a lot of things that this video is going to cover, so there's going to be timestamps. If you get bored from a segment, then skip to the next one. There's going to be an introduction first, and then we're going to go to the next topics. I might actually jump in once in a while to sort of add a comment or two, but let's see. There's been new developments ever since, I recorded this video. A while ago, my dad used to tell me, whatever you wear, your clothing, your attire, is a part of your personality. So when people meet you based on your attire, you're already putting an impression on people. So I'm Ruymand, for those of you that had no idea who I was. I'm a co-founder of edibles.eco. We want to create a marketplace for all things edible eventually. Something like this cup or this steer. And it tastes pretty good. And the thing is that the life of an entrepreneur, which is what I've learned, is not all this. It's not all what Hollywood shows you at all. It's actually exactly the opposite. I think that there's a small population that do get lucky, and we always concentrate on that. And then on the other hand, there's us, right? The only thing is I'm only 25, so I can't really say anything. There's people that are trying and they're in their 40s. Truth is that we are struggling. We have another room, so we have sort of like two rooms. This one is two parts, so the other side is storage. This side is our studio, and in the back, it's our kitchen. And in our storage, we have like probably 450 frozen pizza boxes. You've heard people saying that they are running their operation lean. Actually, we are running it lean. If you look at the costs we have almost no costs. And we're trying to keep it low as much as we can. It's not a lifestyle that my parents probably wanted me to choose, but it's the one I chose. And so I'm going down this path. Which means that I will be doing certain tedious jobs, like working at PicNic. In fact, my contract just came to an end. I wouldn't mind going back, but over the past year, the work has become triple what it used to be. So we have less manpower, it's more chaotic. And when I compare our FC at least, DC4 feels like a completely different company. DC4, can you guys just adopt me? Can I just come work there? It was actually enjoyable. So I worked in PicNic for about almost 2 years. I reached out to Mike and Muller, he's a busy man. We had a small back and forth, but then we never ended up actually having a proper meeting. I can literally say that there's a few things wrong in this company, and this is how I know that the management, the C-suits, have no idea what is going on in their company. Problem with growth companies, which I consider PicNic, is that they just have to do capex, which means they have to increase their revenue as much as possible and try to just really grow, right? They're really big on data. Because there's human psychology involved, it's important to kind of keep the morale high. Some of the so-and-so supervisors might have no idea how something is done because they never do it. With the technology that we have, at least, you should be able to automate most of the stuff you're doing. What's the point of FCA? But the thing is, the machines break down constantly, apparently. Just humans are cheaper than machines right now. There's a representation in you being able to afford a supercar. That's the moment where you have enough cash to not worry about the two luxuries in the world. One, not worrying where your rent money is coming from, and two, not worrying about where your food is coming from. There's been occasions where I've had maybe just a few cents in my account, and I had to sustain that for like a week or two. Now, I don't have to live like that, but the thing is, I was privileged. You don't realize how privileged you are when you cut those privileges out of your life. Then you realize that you're privileged. I think when you have a family that gets along together, that's a privilege. I think having your family right next to you, that's a privilege. Being able to spend time with them every weekend is a privilege. So family, that's a big thing. And I think for us, money doesn't really represent. And I used to think that money doesn't buy happiness. I still sort of think that, but it's just, you don't know what to buy. But the biggest thing is that I can spend more time with the people I love, especially in the long term. I want to have the privilege of watching my kids grow up, because that's something my dad didn't have. He was a very hardworking man, and there's nothing I can do to try to top that, the way he did it. If I was put in the same environment as he was, with the same privileges, or the lack of, rather, privileges, I don't know if I would have been able to do what he did. But I don't want what he did to go to waste, which is why I'm trying so hard. I want to take what he built, and then build on top of that. I think if I compare myself now to everyone in my high school, I'm way further behind them when it comes to career and life. And the truth is, degrees don't mean shit. But you have to have the degree You have to have a degree. It doesn't matter what the hell it is. I don't have a bachelor's degree yet. I'm currently working on it. And I'll be lucky if I don't get kicked out, right? And even that saying those words shows how much people care. We have absolutely no help from our university, and nobody is really willing to really help us. So it sometimes feels like it's you against the world. The ability to still get up and fight back when everything's going against you. In a way, that's the dream, right? Anyways, getting a little bit sidetracked here. I want to go back to the previous conversation. A few months ago, I created a meme account for work. You know, I thought that, look, I sort of get along with everyone, and it feels like everyone's misunderstanding each other. But it kind of makes sense because a company like PicNic Warehouse, like the FC5, everyone's constantly talking behind everyone's back. And no one's really your friend, right? I get along with everyone. So in a sense, they say everyone's friend is really no one's friend. And to an extent, that's true. Oh, just by the way, it turns out there is one person that doesn't get along with me. Some of that might be because the guy might be a little bit of a racist. I don't have any physical proof to say, you know, how, you know, if he is a racist or not, but there is racism in that warehouse. Something happened today, and, you know, I thought it might happen, but I had a witness. You know, even the last times I had witness, I can, you know, and also I can say that I caught somebody, you know, the person that was kind of going through that in a lie. Unfortunately, you have to deal with people like that. It's an unfortunate thing that one of those people might be, you know, in a position of power. You know, there's good and bad supervisors. You know, what can I say? There's good and bad people everywhere. Also, he who is friend with everyone is an enemy of himself. Here is another profound line. He who plants a tree knowing that he will never get to sit in its shade is just starting to understand the meaning of life. The reason we're so miserable, I think it goes back to the people in charge, or rather the hierarchical structure that we have. I've had multiple work injuries and nobody's done anything about them. They didn't even tell me the full procedure. I got a strain in my elbow. I couldn't move my elbow really for 2 weeks. Did anyone care? No. Did I get absence for it? Probably. Did it become invalid? Probably not. The food is really good. Well, was really good. And I used to always take the last break because I used to always go for extra food. You know, there were times that I was working 5 days a week and I was basically eating once a day at PicNic. But then what happened is I got salmonella infection. And the reason I know I got it from work is because I literally only ate at work. Those 5 days, I only ate at work. I got salmonella infection. I couldn't fucking go to work. Anyone cares? No. Anyone even pretends to care? No. You know, one thing about the food that I have to mention is that it is a mixed bag, at least in FC5. It really depends on who's standing or who's cooking and whatnot. I mean, one of the guys left that was, I felt like, problematic, but every time he was around, I would get sick. You know, there was an occasion where I think like something like 30 people went home. But DC4's food is by far the best food I'd ever eaten at a PicNic. It's probably a good thing to mention that I'm still missing like 3 days worth of wage, and it's something I've like been missing for a long time. What am I gonna do? You know, it's just to add on top of that, I think one other problem with at least PicNic is that a lot of the people in leadership are like young, so they might actually lack the managerial experience. But this is coming from somebody who's 25, so I can't say shit, but like I know that those guys have no idea how to manage people. I think the ones that came from more of a data background are in the let's just say the wrong career path, because you know they went into a job that requires a different skill and they're just not up to par with it. Everyone's looking out for themselves. In a sense, it's sort of like a survival. And someone like me, I'm constantly trying to look for other people, you know, look after other people. I mean, I do it for myself. It's not like I'm doing it because I might go to hell or heaven. Actually, like 2 weeks ago, I witnessed one of the captains basically almost run over someone with the cleaning carts, and they didn't give a fuck. Twitter, Elon Musk, he got rid of like 75% of the company, and the company's still working fine. I'm not saying there's a correlation, but I'm just saying that if a percentage of some of the people at PicNic gets cut out, business is gonna go as usual. There's a percentage of the people, I'm not really naming anyone, and this is kind of a generalization, that a bunch of people that are really hardworking are getting let go. And then some people that kind of slack off end up staying. right? I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not saying, it's just that's an observation. So anyways, I created sort of a meme account for everyone to kind of get things out of their system because things were starting to get toxic. In fact, to a point where everyone's trying to mess with each other, but not only each other, but also the systems, right? There was an incident, for example, with the Wi-Fi. So by having a meme page like this, I sort of create an outlet for everyone to get this thing out of their system. Both the shoppers and the captains or the leadership or whatever. Look, it's a job, I get it. And there's certain members of the leadership that sort of like put themselves down to the shoppers level, and it feels like you're part of a team. You know, there's a few people I can name off the top of my head who, when I see them working hard, it makes me want to work hard. Oh yeah, and then there's the opposite in the other side. If you see some people, you know, like not doing shit and just screaming at everyone, then it makes you want to kill yourself. And no matter how hard you work, you're not going to climb the ladders in a company like that because it's all politics. This, you know, PicNic politics. Startup politics, university politics. It's all politics. The whole world, the whole business world is basically politics. You know, there's been a lot of times where I've just done 16 hours a day, and I've continued to sustain that for almost like 6-7 days a week. And it's been like that for like a few months. I'm an extrovert, so when I'm working with people, I get energy, which is sort of sometimes why I enjoy actually working at PicNic. Like, I can learn anything. I think anyone can learn anything. It really comes down to the people running the place. And I don't really mean one or two people. There's always a group of people that's running something together. But I think one of the issues we have at our current FC is that we don't have the manpower and there's too much work. So compared to, I don't know, a year ago, there's more work and less people. That's a problem. But you know, that's just my 2 cents on the whole thing. There's like drama between the leadership. You know, there's drama between the shoppers. It's kind of a weird company. The meme page is essentially running itself. Most of the posts that actually are made on that account is from submissions. So I didn't feel like I actually need to pass this on to somebody else. I can keep the torch. And at this point, the whole thing is running itself. You know, I might have to make one meme like every I don't know, 2 weeks to get things going again if activity actually drops. But usually there's so much submissions coming out that there actually is a backlog of content that I haven't even posted. And you might say, why are you even doing this? You know, to a company that didn't even like extend your contract, you feel like you're sort of left out or even abused at some point. I like some of the people, and I feel like it provides an outlet for them to get things off their chest. And there's even few people that I check on every once in a while just to make sure that, you know, they're around. God forbid. I think the biggest thing comes down to communications, which is actually my specialization, right? And man, I'm really trying really hard to get people to, you know, hang out outside of work things out, but I don't think it's gonna work out. You know, it's like inside of this warehouse, small groups form. Within the big gatherings, there's like small groups that are being formed. You would think that the corporate jobs would require certain hierarchical training and team buildings and whatever. It turns out it's the blue collar jobs. You know, doing this thing, doing this video, this account, whatever, I have nothing to gain from this. So I might actually be putting myself in the target of 1 or 2 people about this. If you want to see who's really in charge, you have to look at who you can't criticize. I want to have an impact in the world. You know, whatever impact millennials are looking for. I want to be able to pop life and then see something pop out in the other end. You don't know the privilege you have until you cut the privilege out of your life. So in a sense, you gotta wake up from the matrix. And that's another issue, because then there's some people who are so stuck within the same matrix that are almost like NPCs, you know, non-playable character. People that cannot think on their own or for themselves. In fact, some of them don't even have an inner monologue. So if they cannot argue with themselves in their head, there's no way that they can have a discussion externally with someone or even have their minds change. If you can't argue with yourself, how the hell are you supposed to argue with somebody else? You know, I think you should change your mind. I change my mind constantly. When I get new data, new information that adds something to what I know or what I didn't know, I change my mind because now I have a certain extra piece of information that I didn't before that. So that changes the way I view things. Anyways, I feel like this episode has sort of become a rant at this point. You know, as you can see, I'm a very philosophical person. So if somebody pushes me with philosophy, I'm going to push them back. Anyways, Now, the biggest thing was this person that was sort of an ass to me lately. The criticism came afterwards. You know, I had seen him really like go off on other people. I just never really said anything. You know, I was like, you know, I'm not gonna get myself involved. You know, but then it also, and you know, but it happened to me. You know, and then once I think it does happen to you, you get to really understand how some of the other people feel. I think if you are somebody who has sort of a two-faced and you're sort of pretending like you're nice, you're gonna lose your cool at some point. And I have witnesses. I mean, I'll take this as a life lesson. The truth really is that racism does exist at FC5. I don't know how much of that falls under, you know, the directness of the Dutch or actual racism, but if you look at some of the people that this is more directed at, they're definitely not the European looking ones. I think I sort of got away with it because of my American accent to a certain degree. You can make some people happy some of the times, but not everyone. This video has already gotten a lot longer than I thought it would be, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a bunch of the PicNic shenanigan videos I have, and I'm going to compress them into sort of a compressed compilation. So this one was more of like an explanation, a critique, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, a vent, a rant. You know, I actually have a lot of stories about PicNic, so maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll make one of these once in a while. But hey, subscribe and like.